Let me change that. Hey, what's up, Chiefs? Good to see you back again for another live Chief chat. I'm going to adjust my camera. I don't like the autofocus because you get the weird, crazy blurry. See, it's no good. But keep your application running. Okay, and let me take off the autofocus. By the way, if you have this Logitech camera, this is a HD 1080. I don't know the exact brand, but there is an app you can download. My man Ross turned me on to that allows you to control the focus, and you can turn off the autofocus. You see it a lot in people's videos. It'll just go wonky, and there is actually an app that you can turn that off. So super cool if you use this camera. So great to be here with everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Scott. We got Scott on the hot seat today. Man, you've gotten a ton of great feedback already in the post. So, God, I just love this format. I love what we're doing here. I love that you guys contribute and support each other on such a high level. It's just an amazing thing. Really feel blessed. Is that Ian? What's up? Ian's here. Cool. We got Ian on. The world's funniest Brit copywriter living in Austin, Texas. I feel confident saying that. I feel like that cannot be disputed. So what's up, Ian Stanley? So cool. Angie Coley. Yeah. Snow's no good. Hey, Ken Barrett, what's up, brother? Just watched your video. Man, again, Ross was just saying, you know, he's right. We should do this every month. The Poser Video Challenge has been so cool. Just like wicked proud of you guys for stepping up to it. And every one of your videos is so good, man. It's like definitely put those out there into the world because people watch this stuff. And, you know, I can't tell you how much it helps for engagement and getting your face out there, getting your name out there, these little tips we give. And, you know, some of you are more video savvy than others. Some of you are stepping out for the first time. We've had a couple people, their first time ever posting in Copy Chief is them putting up their David Watson, first time ever posting. He's been lurking, and it was the video challenge of all things that got him to post up his first post. So it's been so great to get to know David and have him be, you know, more engaged part of the community. So, you know, just awesome. And I guess the contest, what is the 31st, is Sunday, right? So that is the last day of this contest. Up for grabs. First place is private consult with yours truly, and a t-shirt. Plus, I'm going to share your video on the blog. I'm going to link to it in emails, and I'm going to share it on Facebook. And second prize, plus a t-shirt. Did I mention a t-shirt? We all love the t-shirts. Second prize is the t-shirt and the exposure. And I think third place is just the exposure. So, but here's the thing, man, we did it to do it, right? That's the victory. Everybody who's done this challenge has already won. I mean, you know, I say that it sounds trite, but it's so true, man. When we do Bullet the Podcast and we make videos and we do things that we weren't doing before, we're winning, man, because that like sets off this whole process of discovery for yourself, right? You know, you might take the formula, the Poser formula, and tweak it a little bit or turn it into some new thing or find out how to do longer videos or whatever. It kicks off a process of your own creativity. To me, that's what's so exciting about it. It's a starting point. You can use it forever and it'll work fine, but you know, the way we are as marketers, as entrepreneurs, as Dean Jackson says, super cows with a million great ideas. It gives us an outlet to, you know, get those ideas out of our head and out into the world where they belong. That's the only way people can respond to them, and we can grow our business. So very, very good. Sweet. Yeah, Angie, get up on this video thing. Where's your poser? You got to sing in yours. Okay. Wow. We got Ian, Madman Stanley in here. This is very cool. All right, Scott. So Angie, Marson, April is here. What is up, Bruce? Snowy Idaho. We got to get you out of Idaho for a couple weeks. Okay, cool. Let's. So I just want to cover quickly a couple things this week. This has been a really cool week. A couple things on my radar that I think are worth sharing. Let's see. I guess first up is the podcast. The way it's been evolving. I got to tell you, podcasting to me is it's really into a cool place right now. And I know it probably feels like, oh my God, everybody has a podcast, and what's the point? You know, the truth is, it's not for everybody, and not everybody has a podcast. I think it's some of the people who you don't have podcasts, you know, like Ramit and you know, Marie Forleo and even Derek abandoned his, and you know, like a lot of Eben Pagan, you know, people like that, like they don't just automatically have a podcast. It's a format that you will thrive in. I think you require some passion and some genuine interest in other people, and you know. But the great thing about it, kind of like with the poster videos, like your personality. You really can make your own show and attract so many people into your world who you may not have expected, and who otherwise probably never would have found out about you, right? It's a very cool networking tool in regards to helping, you know, spread your message in you know, getting in front of a lot more people, because people see, you know, that recommended thing really works in Stitcher and iTunes. You know, shows like this, people, if they're really hot on a topic, they'll discover other shows. And then as a host, you get invited to be a guest on other shows, and then people find out about your show that way. So it spreads quickly. And so I have the two podcasts now. Of course, the one with John that's been going for, you know, a couple of years now, which is great. It's sort of casual. It's John and I about once a month. We get together, we go deep on one topic. And John's brilliant always. And so for me to get to kind of host John's brain is a real privilege. And I love what that show is. It's basically John and I recording conversations we were having anyway, essentially. Then there's The Truth About Marketing, which I started almost, you know, last June, and has been a labor of love and is like really catching traction now. And I'm excited because next month, in February, we're doing the Badass Women of Marketing month, and I'm featuring some, you know, emerging stars in the world of marketing, and I'm interviewing the biggest stars in marketing. I had Marie Forleo yesterday on the show, and you know what was really cool? You know, Marie's like up there, right? I mean, she's, you know, really like the best of what we do in regards to just, you know, producing on a high level, getting amazing engagement, putting out one killer product every year. That's her offer. That's her business, is B School. She's put multiple tens of thousands of people through B School at $2,000 a pop. And all she does to fuel that is shows up every Tuesday and kicks royal ass, giving great content and connecting with her audience, right? So, you know, I have utmost respect for Marie, as I know most of us do. And what was cool was Marie knows, like, she didn't, it's not like she's sitting around listening to the show, but she, you know, like followed directions. Like she was prepared for this interview, because I have one essential question I ask to every guest on my podcast. And that's one thing I recommend doing if you're thinking of starting a podcast. You know, some people like to have a set of, you know, like John Lee Dumas asks the same exact question to every guest. Some John Nastor from Hack the Entrepreneur has 4 questions that sort of serve as the guideline for his show. I only have one essential question I ask of every guest on Truth About Marketing, which is, what's the one thing you've done in your marketing that's produced the most surprising result? And what's great about that as a marketing tool is, you know, I'm going to make a book out of the best answers. You know, it might not be everybody's. Maybe I'll pick the best, you know, what I think are the best 20, or maybe I'll do the first 50 and just keep doing series. But it's become a thing now where when people are a guest on the show, they're prepared for the question, they're anticipating the question, and they've pondered the question. So I'm getting more and more detail and case study driven answers. And so Marie was absolutely prepared for the question. She was like anticipating it, and she had pondered it, and she, so I thought that was really cool. It wasn't just, hey, some guy's going to ask me a question. I mean, we know each other a little bit, but we weren't really in each other's world. And so that's the other big benefit of podcasting, is the networking, the personal networking that it opens up for you. After the show yesterday, Marie said, I'm so glad we reconnected. She said, there's just so many people in this business. And we were when her and her partner were creating their copy course called The Copy Cure, she said, we were sitting around going like, who else is out there teaching copy? And my name didn't pop up in her memory. And then when we reconnected, she's like, of course, Kevin, and now she's inviting me to come into her community and do some teaching there, which just, the rising tides lift all ships, right? So it's an amazing networking tool. Gerald McDonald, I've been coaching him on, he's starting a new podcast, and he's found the same thing because, he's reaching out to, accomplished filmmakers, and it's all about film and video, and he's finding them very receptive to being on the show. So it's the whole thing. Don't abuse it, but I'll tell you what, entrepreneurs, like, anybody who's achieved a level of success, the worst thing you could ever say to them is, hey, can I pick your brain? Right? They hate that. It's just basically saying, hey, will you coach me for free for an hour with absolute no benefit to you? Pick your brain. It's just like a shitty thing to even say, right? But if you say, hey, would you like to be on my show? I'm extremely passionate about this topic. I admire your work for these reasons, and I'd love to share more of what, your knowledge with my audience. Yes, sure, I'll do that. That sounds like an awesome proposition. So totally different scenario. Again, you don't start a podcast just to use it as a networking tool, but if you are passionate about your topic and you're producing a good show, it's an amazing networking tool. I've met so many cool people who I just would never know about. They wouldn't know about me. And now we're buddies and we're talking about doing other stuff, all because of the podcast. And big announcement, and let's move on. I'm starting yet another podcast, and dig this. So, with Truth About Marketing, I was doing two kinds of episodes. I was doing the interviews, and then I had a how-to show. And I think that was a smart model that was successful, especially when I was producing 2 shows a week. That definitely helps you get more ranking and engagement. People want more of a podcast they like. However, I was not able to keep up with the demand of doing 2 shows a week. The how-tos kept getting put off, and I was recording them at the last minute, and the quality was suffering. So here's what's great is I'm starting a 3rd podcast. I know you're going, right? Wait a minute. You had a bandwidth issue. Well, that's because I've given up all my client work, and I'm totally dedicated to building what we're doing. So Copy Chief Radio records its first 4 episodes Thursday. I'm working with Jonathan Rivera, who produces Ben Settle's show, and he's a member of Copy Chief. And he produces Dan Meredith, who just went to like number 3 in the world under Tim Ferriss and BBC on launch last week. Congratulations, Dan. He produces, Doberman Dan. So a bunch of cool shows. And so Brian and Jonathan and I are, teaming up on a brand new show, Copy Chief Radio. And so the how-to episodes I used to do on Truth About Marketing are now, that's what basically Copy Chief is, right? Copy Chief Radio. And I'm going to be bringing a lot more members onto the show. About 50% of the shows I want to be featuring one of you guys. Obviously, I'll be having people like Ross on in April and all the people you see on the panel, but any other member, like if we get a hot thread going and you're, comfortable being on a mic, I would love to have you on the show. And we'll just, basically it's a reflection of all the cool stuff we're doing in Copy Chief, what we're learning, what we're discovering, what we're talking about. And that's what Copy Chief Radio is going to be. So really excited about it. It's just another avenue to grow the greatness that we're creating. So really cool stuff. I guess that's all I'll cover because I don't want to rant on and on here. But as you can see, pretty passionate about podcasting. I think it's undoubtedly here to stay. It's only going to grow. And it's how cool is it that you get to like have your own radio show in your little office right here, and just because you thought, why not? And then people listen to it. Thousands of people give up their ear hole to you for 30 minutes at a time, 40 minutes, an hour. You know, Mark Maron was like the first podcaster people heard about. He was basically a fizzled out road comic. You know, a brilliant guy, but he wasn't gonna make that leap to the next level or become an actor or probably have a sitcom. You know, he was a burned out road comic and started a podcast because why not, in his garage. And he was one of the first guys to achieve like 1 million downloads. And the show kept getting more and more popular. It's called WTF, if you don't know Mark Maron. And a few months ago, he had the president of the United States of America come to his garage in California and give him like an hour-long interview. What? I mean, completely changed the guy's life, you know, even before Obama came. But now that Obama came on his show, you should see, like, look at his guest list. He was just interviewing comics, you know, and then he started getting a little more popular. He was getting some actors, some name people, you know, DC list celebrities. Then the president of the United States of America comes on to his show, and now he can have anybody he wants on his show. People just want to come in his garage and go, is this where the president's at? No kidding. So, you know, it's a you, man, exposed and being real and people loving you for that. So badass times we're living in, man. We just like, it's never been a greater time to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, I'm excited. Okay. So here we go. Okay. Let me just catch up with the thread. Hey, Wardy, what's up? He's getting deported. Paul, you're funny, man. Paul just sits in the shadows making smart ass remarks. Let's see. Angie, bye-bye. Yeah, earhole. I know it always sounds risque when I say that, but it is like that's how intimate it is. It should sound dirty. Yes, Wardy, do I have suggestions on how to pitch yourself to be a guest on larger podcasts than your own? I find that if you're passionate about your topic and you have a decent size audience, they will have you on because they see the value in the exposure of your audience. Like they can't just stop, you know, reaching out, right? So the outreach is, I think, important to any smart podcaster. And I think, you know, if they're an interview format, they need content. And so I don't think you have to do anything outrageous. I will say this, the reason my show like kind of jumped another level is because I hired Sylvia Ferrero to do outreach for me. So I would say, you know, I mean, you could talk to Sylvia or someone like her. For me, it was way easier to have her go out and represent me than for me to do it myself, right? And like, for instance, I had Maria on my list from the beginning, and I don't know why I was being hesitant about asking her. I mean, I assume she kind of remembered me. We've spoken together at events, but I wasn't doing it. I was like, for whatever reason, thinking, I got to get the intro just right, or you know, what should I use, or should I have somebody else reconnect us? And I was overthinking it. And she was just like, no, I'll just email Marie. You know, and she got to her assistant, and it was like an instant yes, right? And it was like, boom, now that's done. I didn't have to think about it, and it's on the calendar. She put me with Billy Beck III, who's a guy, again, like wasn't on my radar to be a guest. I'd written a promo for him a couple years ago. Turns out he told me later after our interview, it's the only copy he'd ever felt good reading to a camera. He usually cringes when somebody tries to write copy for him. And again, I would not have reconnected with him. His main gig now is he goes around, travels with Tony Robbins, and, you know, speaks to Tony's clients in crowds, right? And so he says to me at the end of the show, "Hey man, if I can help you in any way, this was a great interview. Really dig your show. If there's anybody I can help you get on the show, let me know." And I go, "Well, it would not suck to have Tony Robbins on my show." And he goes, "I'll mention it. It can't hurt. Tony loves to support anybody doing something awesome. He really doesn't need the money or he's not worried about it." And I was like, so, what I mean? Like 1 degree of separation from having Tony Robbins on the show, which would have like an Obama effect in our world. Who couldn't I get if I get Tony Robbins, right? So my point, Wardy, is that, maybe think about having somebody go out and represent you. I think that adds like a layer of authenticity or officialness to the fact that somebody's out there doing outreach for us. That would be my recommendation. Yeah, Ken, I agree. If you can get on their podcast and provide value, yeah, you guys are talking about somebody specific, I think there. Earhole. We got to do something with the earhole. That could be my t-shirt for the podcast. Copy Chief Radio. Lend us your earhole. Open up your ear holes and let's get it on. Okay, that's too much. You're welcome, Wardy. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to be biased. It's just true across the world. Like, who doesn't want Wardy on their show? Okay, so I think it's time. I have ranted for a good 25 minutes. Hope it was useful. And let's get into the hot seat. Okay, so Ross, let me get everybody on screen who needs to be here. All up in your ear hole. That's the t-shirt. All up in your ear hole. Oh, shit. Okay, I got the thread here. Let me drop it in. Let me make sure I get back to the top of it so you can see my man Scott Dennison. Scott is a great marketer. I still have a notebook Scott gave me. We had lunch one day and he gave me this great notepad, and it's nice. And so I use it because why wouldn't I want to use this? Scott just gets it, man. He knows what he's doing. And so this is a new venture for Scott. I saw that today. Ben Settle wrote about Wardy this morning. How cool is that? They live in the same town. And as you know, Wardy's been following Ben's advice and emailing every day and getting huge results. So wicked exciting. Yeah, Wardy. We'll be talking later. And okay, so that's the thread for Scott right there. Let me start inviting people on. Okay, Scott, I just invited you. Angie, I know you're cubed up. Let me know if you're available. Who else? Raise your hand. Ross, I always got to have Ross on, man. It just feels good to have Ross in the house. He always has something helpful and he's just fun. Ross is fun. Scott, what's up, brother?
What's happening, Kevin?
Good to see you, my man. Look at you all. Hey, Ross, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? Hey, Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome, Ross. How are you?
I'm doing pretty damn good.
You above freezing there in Montreal today?
That's a good question. It's snowing currently as I look out the window, but that might give a clue. But it's a bit slushy outside. So
look at the difference. Yeah, well, Scott's on the water on the. What are you on the waterway there?
Yeah, I'm on the Intercoastal.
Yeah, very nice.
The palm trees floating in the sunny breeze behind you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, look at that.
I'm creating a jealousy effect.
Yeah, we're gonna have a mastermind at your house. That sound all right?
Yeah, we can do it anytime.
I think that's what we need.
Get my neighbor over here to give up his 72-foot yacht and let us go hang out on the deck.
Yes, I like that.
Of course, he's gone this time of year. He heads out in December and goes down to the islands and doesn't come back until June. But damn, gotta live that way.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I was just in Miami a couple weeks ago in the yachts that people park on the Intercoastal there. It's disgusting. A crew of like 12 people just to man your yacht. But if you decide one day you feel like going for a cruise, I love it. And everybody's sitting around going, can you imagine what the fuel costs? I go, I promise you the owner of that yacht does not care what the fuel costs. That is not something he's sitting around pondering as long as you have right now.
No, he's gonna put fuel in that boat, or he's gonna give that money to Obama to spend on whatever.
Right, so he can fly himself to another garage and do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, who else? Angie. Hey, Angie, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Nice to see you. I was spying on your progress journal. I'm very impressed. You've been working your little tail off there.
Burning the candle at both ends, man, but hanging in there.
Are you at the end of that now? Do you get to rest a little bit?
Starting to wrap it up. I'm going to have to talk one of my clients off the ledge later today, but teaches me to be a better copywriter. So.
Yeah, it's true. Good.
I think April and Ian are also on the line.
Yeah, I'm looking for April. I got it. You know, it's weird. I can only in the comments. That's why I always ask people to make sure you make a comment. Because the only way I can see where to invite you is in the comments. Wardy, I'll let you decide. I'd love to have you on if you're interested in being on the panel. No pressure, but there's April. And where is John here? Mr. Belkowitz? I know he said he'd be here. What about Marcin? Marcin, you want to come on?
Wardy said that she won't be able to jump on today. John is here. He just commented.
No problem. Okay, cool. What's up, John? I get John on. Okay, Lauren, what happened? Let me restart this. All right, let's see. I'd like to have one more. John, we got to have John. Yeah, John's on his way. Okay, we'll start here for now. Hi, April. How you doing?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Hey, Badass Woman of Marketing #1 goes live Monday right there. April Dykeman, everybody. Very exciting. Your first podcast and you're leading the charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Ian is there as well.
Oh, Ian, yes. Oh, God, this is going to be fun. All right. We couldn't get Jody this week, so someone's got to represent British humor for us. So we got Ian. This is going to be great. Okay, cool. How you doing, John?
What's up?
Good to see you, brother. Thanks for all the great, feedback you've given Scott already, man.
No kidding.
Monster as usual, dude. You're just okay. Let's all right. Let's do it proper here. Let's see if there's Ian. What's up, brother? We don't hear you. You're muted. You see a mute controller? There you go.
Still don't hear you.
I still don't hear you. It must be your system audio. Now your mute mic's back. Let me just make sure I get your audio. Mic check, check.
Yeah, I think he's going to be working on it, so we can power away while he's trying to figure it out, I think.
Okay. Yeah, he'll pop on when it's going. Okay, cool. So let's rock it. Scott, we'll give you the floor here, and you give us the rundown, okay? So for everybody, who hasn't seen your thread or anybody who is coming to this later so they can get the full value, give us the rundown about, who you are, your business, what you're up to, and the #1 thing we can help you solve on this hot seat.
Okay. Let's see. I'm a marketing guy, like Kevin said. I've been marketing pretty much my whole life. Started around 2008 representing clients after closing down my second technology company. Actually selling it back to the other partners and then walking away because it just was dysfunctional and not satisfying in any way. Started consulting, teaching people basically how to get something of value out of the internet. And one thing led to another, and I started to niche down. Around 2012, I picked up a client that happened to be a roofer. And I had been thinking about this concept of looking at high-value marketplace high average transaction ticket as a real nice outlet for selling an optimization or a lead generation model, because you don't necessarily have to move the needle all that much for them to see tremendous value and do enough of it, and eventually your fees rise and all that. Well, as anybody that's ever built a service business, a client-based business, as you know, Kevin, and probably most of the others know, logistics come into play. You get too many clients, and now you've got to scale. You've got to get staff. You've got to find people to help you do things. And I just found that to be very, very hard for me to do. Quality people, hard to find. So managing people is not my strongest suit. Working directly with clients was better. And I kept having, I guess my closing percentage on qualified leads was fairly low, somewhere in the 20% range, 15% range, of roofers that needed and wanted badly to dominate the internet, wanted to generate more leads from the online world, still saying no to my offer, but admittedly I was going for a high dollar fee. I was at $2,500 a month on a 6-month minimum guarantee contract. And
this is primarily to get them. It's lead gen, but the number one tool to do that is search rank. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely. Well, we optimize in 3 ways. We get them. I created this thing called Leads in a Week, and we focus on doing a fast and quick and dirty local SE or pay-per-click campaigns, getting those up and running, tightly optimized, high click-through rates, drive the cost per click down, and so we can get them leads right away while we're building a new website, writing new content, and then building the links to it. And then we also focus in between on that whole free box, the what used to be Google Places and has changed name 17 times, is now, I just refer to it as a 3-box or the map on page 1. And so we optimize them in all 3 ways, and essentially that visibility creates, if the site converts well, that visibility generates a lot of leads. And if they're getting enough of them, the ROI on what they're paying me is nothing. I mean they're huge ROI for what they're paying me. And it was kind of my objective all along, was to get to a point where they would shrug their shoulders and say, I don't really care what I'm paying you because the value is tremendous. But when the logistics kicked in and I found it really, really hard to scale the client services business, I ended up starting to focus on that 85% or so that was saying no, and looking at closely what they wanted. And basically, they wanted to learn to do it themselves, and didn't really have an outlet for that. And around that time is when I joined CopyChief, and I was just fascinated with your model. I just thought it was so intriguing that you had organized a niche of people that were all interested in this one topic, and and delivered incredible value. And after sitting with you that one day, I said, I'm going to go out and build something like that for my community. And I don't know, that's been not quite a year, I guess. Last summer I was gone for almost 2 months, traveling around the country and having a blast and doing some work, but not much. And I ended up coming back, and I've been focused the last 90 days on building Top Rank Roofer.
Yep.
Which is a community. It's the only one that we can find in the world. It's actually a private, safe community for roofers to learn how to optimize their websites, to build and optimize a great website, and then attain a top ranking of their own. Membership-based thing, driven by a lot of the same scarcity model that you're using, that Tramco teaches, and so here we are. I mean, we're just now at the point where we're pushing the door open a little bit. It's not in full-scale promotion mode yet, but we're only days away now from being able to really kick ass with our marketing. And that brings me to this week, which was fascinating because after getting invited on for you, a few days after that, I got a similar opportunity to get on with Glenn Livingston on Monday. And Glenn and his team just tore the whole industry apart, tore my site apart, and put it back together and showed me what they saw, and what an experience that turned out to be. My goodness, I got 11 pages of detailed to-dos from them, and yet he doesn't really focus on the copy so much. He's focusing on the conversion ability, placement of items, what's there, what's missing, and how you stack up against your competitors. So what a full-scale educational week it is, and a lot of tweaking to do.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, good. That's a good thing to do. So essentially, it's copy chief for roofers, and I like to kind of refer to it as maybe you could say you're like the Joe Polish of roofers. The difference being you weren't a roofer yourself, like he was a carpet cleaner, but concept that let me teach marketing to one very specific sort of blue collar service industry, and help the ones who want to pay attention make a whole lot more money.
Yes.
And grow their business. Okay. So I'm looking at your site. Should that be where we are? I know you kind of posted up an email series. What's going to move based on what Glenn and his team gave you to do? What area of copy can we focus on today that's going to help the most?
I'd certainly like to get people's view on the what you get part. Does that strike a good amount of value?
Mm-hmm.
Does if anybody can get the pop-up, which actually I think I linked into the thread anyway, the exit pop, is that structured fairly well for conversion? Do people see ways to improve on that? And then of course those emails, because I'm clear on the idea that the vast majority of conversions will happen on follow-up, not on first visit.
Yeah.
I don't expect much on the first visit. I just think that the majority of people that join, if they ever join, will do so after we follow up and follow up and follow up.
Yeah. So what kind of engagement do you have with this audience now going into this?
Well, besides my clients, I get most of my activity comes from my relationships on LinkedIn. I have about 1,100, 1,200 roofers that are first-level connects to me. I've been contributing content in the different roofing groups for 2 years now, and have a following there. I've offered up some free ebooks and such along the way, and I'm just about to launch a whole campaign based on what Josh Turner teaches, his Connect model of really reaching out and building relationships within that base of people, within those roofers, and then ultimately leading them to a webinar where they'll learn about this and of course get the follow-up emails.
Okay. And so the first point, the first action they can take with you is to get a copy of your book, and from there you're basically offering them foundation, founder membership into top-ranked roofer community at $49 a month. Yeah.
Yes.
And the incentive there is they're locked in pricing, just like I did with my founders based on Shramco's model. I cut it off at 100. He chided me for that. Thought that was crazy. I regret it a little, but don't, because for me it was a perfect 80-20 model for me to understand what's this thing look like, what kind of bandwidth is it going to require of me to run it, to monitor it, and and to nurture it. So do you have an immediate goal for memberships? Are you looking for that first 100 or?
Yes, I'm focused on getting the first 100. I consider that to be proof of concept.
Yeah.
I get to 100, and not only will there be a reasonable amount of cash flow to make it worth the time, but it will also prove that there is some pent-up hunger for this. That it's not just people saying that, but actually, I equate it to all the people that say they support Trump, but then we'll see, on election day if they actually do. We'll see when they have to.
I'm scared to find out myself. I'm not very doubtful that those wackadoos are going to line up in droves, but that's a whole nother topic. Okay, let's. I'm going to start with John since he's already put a bunch of thought into this. So, John, what do you see here, and what do we need to be addressing the most?
Well, I mean, first thing with the exit pop, the opt-in form, I guess that's the easiest thing to look at. Kind of per my comments in the thread, the things that jumped out for me, one, I'd like to see you test an image of the actual report, as opposed to, I think it was just the same image as the main image on the actual website itself, the guy with the hard hat contractor.
Which, by the way, it's worth mentioning, we're looking for a better image. Glenn pointed to that and said that's an actor with a beard.
Right.
It's not a roofer.
I thought that too when I saw it. And by the way, his hard hat is right above his ear hole. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we need. Okay. Cool.
So that would be the first thing. Second thing, I think you only had a one form or one field for email address. I like testing with first name at least, specifically for follow-up purposes, so you can get personal. And more specifically, if you're selling continuity, with no low-dollar gateway purchase in between the free opt-in and the continuity. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then I think the last thing I commented on the opt-in box was just the word issues. That, for me, in terms of just a piece of copy, is a word that I default to, but I don't like that word at all. I think it's pretty flat.
Mm-hmm. Not a power word.
No, it's not a power word. So something like mistakes is what I suggest. To me, it could be something else, but mistakes carries a little bit.
These are roofers. It's called total fuck-ups.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that too. That's worth the
speaker in a public place.
Well, John, the question pops up there is, would you test the idea of putting, even if a tripwire type offer, a $7, $10, $19 offer, but before you put the continuity in their face?
I mean, I think it's worth a test. From the stuff that I've worked on, personally, continuity. So going from free to continuity tends not to work as well as having something in between. But I think it's a matter of, so like when critiquing something, it's a matter of, are we addressing the overall strategy, which is typically a lot more work, or just specific tactics within the strategy? So for example, just changing the image, changing some of the verbiage on the opt-in form, changing a field, a little bit more of a tactic within the strategy. In your email sequence, if you're going to do, if you're talking about inserting a low-dollar product in between free and continuity, I would absolutely test it. But again, it depends on how much time and money and effort do you want to spend initially to test performance differences, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it's the same deal with the email, suggesting tweaking the headline versus changing the whole email strategy. Like a strategy in email might be to work on getting them to consume the lead magnet before you start presenting emails with your offer, because most people aren't going to consume it just off of a download or off of just the initial email with the link.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a change in strategy, in my opinion, more than tactics within your current strategy. So it depends on how quick you want to start to test performance factors and how much work and effort you want to put into overhauling something.
Yeah, challenging. When you're
yeah, because I think what happens, at least from my experience, a lot of people will test out a strategy. If it doesn't work, they switch it up and try out a different strategy, kind of like shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
When if you would just change some tactics within that initial strategy, you'd see usually a bump before you just discard it altogether. A lot of times you waste a lot of time and money when you keep changing strategies without testing tactics.
Yeah, right. Really finding out if what you're attempting is viable.
Right.
Ian Stanley, I'm sure you do a lot of testing of these kinds of things. You're building great lists. The company you work with over there, you guys are very effective at engagement. What are you seeing here, brother? And welcome. And I still can't hear you. Damn, what a bummer. Still got no audio. No, can't hear you. Check your mic setting, for your system setting. All right, let's go to who else? Anybody want to raise their hand on the Ross? What's that?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. So I've never worked at roofers, but I have done work with plasterers, electricians, and some other local people in a similar space. The first thing that I noticed right off the bat on the join page is like the headline is good, you know what I mean? Like I know your language is right. Like when you talk to people who haven't kind of got their marketing together, they do feel like they're invisible. They're almost ashamed that they're not even featuring for their keyword in Google. It doesn't even show up. So I'm going from invisible to the top ranked roofer with a straightforward 3-step process. It's going in the right direction, but then I'm wondering what the 3-step process is. And how this is going to work, and if you know what you're talking about, and then I'm hit up, oh yeah, just join for $49 a month. So I think the ask is coming a little too quick there before I really know what's involved, right? That's one of the things that struck me initially. Another thing, I think Bruce echoed this as well. In my experience, when it comes to these contractor businesses, like leads is okay, like in terms of language, but what they really want is calls. You talk to anyone that I've talked to, what they're measuring is like how many calls are we getting this week, how many calls converted into call outs, and how many call outs converted into quotes. So that's really what they're after. You can call it leads, but in my experience, there's not that many people on these websites like visiting a contractor's website and submitting a form. Like the vast majority of people that go to those sites, they end up picking up the phone and wanting to talk to someone, and that's the metric that a lot of them, in my experience at least, that they end up measuring. Well, another point I noticed as well on the join page, but you have like this awesome book, but when I go to like the non-join page and it's in the sidebar or on the home, I'm not really sure what it is. Like it says now available on Amazon. I don't even know, like unless I looked at the byline for your blog articles, I don't even know this is the book that's written by the owner of the company. And there's that could, I'm not sure if that is the lead magnet that's kicking off the email sequence. But if that is, I would be looking to push that, or even maybe a chunk of that. I'm not sure if the 3-step process comes out of that book, or if it's the 6 things that are wrong with your website that's being offered in the pop-up.
Yeah, that's the lead magnet, is the 6 things that are wrong with your site. Yeah,
so I'm not sure if that's coming out of your book or whatever it is, but like that's what I would be, pushing maybe at the whatever point, but I don't see that being offered apart from in the pop-up. And then when I'm seeing the book, it looks like someone's put an ad on your site, and that this isn't the part of what the top ranked roofer is offering.
Yeah, there's nothing to connect you to the book, Scott. And honestly, I'd be either giving it away for free or a special report from the book or a chapter of the book or something. You've got to be teaching. You've got to prove that you're someone who can teach these folks and lead them, right? And for me, that's what's missing is you. Whether you want it to be Scott Dennison, and I mean it's you, right? You're out in front of it. It's your community, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so we got to get you on there. Let's put you in a hard hat and a belt and hanging from the side of a building. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that, but I mean you got. Hey, I'm Scott, and here's the deal. Like when I was starting Copy Chief, put it this way. I didn't have a huge list. I knew I had a pretty engaged list, but I was shocked at how fast I sold out those 100 seats in the level of enthusiasm of people that came in, and it was all from the book, right? It was like people, the book was the tool that said, all right, Kev's just not another guy we know can write copy. He's teaching us something. So I think that the thing that's missing for me, and I don't know, maybe you do this on LinkedIn more, is that you're not teaching yet. You're not giving value to where they go, man, this guy like blows my mind every time I open one of his emails or every time I come to his blog, and it's got to be worth $49 to have him care about what I'm doing and give me some actual, have access to him as a guide. How far are we from having those things in place?
Well, there's definitely a conversation about doing a new version of the book exclusively for roofers, which will be kind of a rewrite of the existing book. It'll be online lead generation or online something for roofers versus the 80/20 internet lead generation that it is now. I love the idea of Copy Chief Radio, and could easily picture myself doing a roofer's radio concept critique.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is 2006 to 2008, I was a director with a company called Success University. I was a director of education there, and every week I held a call that was listened to by thousands of people around the world, and so I've got a lot of time on the phone doing interviews and
yeah, it's all repurposable content, right? You know, so.
I only wish I still had all that content.
Well, yeah, it's all right. Well, do you have even your notes from creating any of it, or was it like you were an expert and you just wound them up and go?
No, I had an outline that I followed. I had a similar process to doing podcasting. I just, it wasn't called podcasting in 2006, so.
Because I mean, all you basically have to do is write out your bullet points and then do a 20-minute show or whatever, right? And again, I would think like I would model Joe Polish in this regard. You know, he was just sharing his discoveries about hiring Gary Halbert and discovering direct response and going, holy crap, this stuff works. I went from being broke and destitute over where the hell do I get my next client to beating him off with a stick because he applied direct response and it really worked, and that became his product, and so I think that that's the thing, and then bringing other experts on, to teach them, okay, now that you've got attention, you've got to lead to your site. Now there's the whole other issue is how do we make sure they take action? Are you guiding them in that regard as well? Like how do they create a landing page or a website that's mobile friendly and all those important things?
Oh yeah, step by step. We're going to teach the exact same process we use with our private clients. It's
yeah, good. So the model's there. It's proven. You've got the case studies. You're good there. Okay, cool. I think we can hear Ian now. So
mic check.
Boom. Yeah.
Is Mike here? Mike. Yeah, so finally got the bloody audio to work. Could you tell what I was saying, Kevin?
I had an idea.
Yeah, I figured. So sort of the first thing, not exactly on topic, but on your sales page that I noticed is just the sequence. Putting the what is top ranked.
Join or home, Ian?
The join.
Yeah, okay.
The join part, so just having the call to action in there, the headline, and then going straight to what is top ranked roofer. I don't think they care yet as far as, you've got to talk about them before you talk about yourself or your community. So I would change the sequence. I'm a roofer, why do I need this? Or, what's my number one, what's the issue I'm struggling with? And then pinpoint the problem before going into the solution and what it is. It's just, to me, it's a little bit backwards. I've just found the biggest easy wins I've ever had in any copy is just changing the sequencing without actually having to change any of the actual copy. So I think people just show up and they go, what is top ranked roofer? Well, I don't care what top ranked roofer is right now. I don't know if I even have a problem yet.
Right. Well, you're in good company because that was one of the things that Livingston pointed out the other day. He's like, the sequence is wrong. You've got to switch it around. So you're in great company there.
I was actually listening in to your call, and I'm trying to make myself sound smart. So that was something. And then as far as, you guys were talking about the continuity being the front end offer, basically getting them into a $49 a month right away. We've done a ton of Tripwire stuff. We basically find a way to create as little friction as possible on the front end, and we run everything is based on subscriptions. So how many people can we get into continuity and into subscriptions? And it is a little tough to do it when that's the first purchase that they make. Other than the best way to make that sort of thing work on the front end is just really strong email copy. But you've got that guide, the free guide. I would either first off, I would put a link to the based on that first email. I would put just at least in the PS, if you're ready to skip the line and jump into the the roofer program now, you can check it out here. Just a really soft sell. But I would experiment with basically finding like a $7 tripwire, something that, or welcome mat, whatever you want to call it. I know people get offended by that word. So whatever,
Austinites in your nasty language.
Yeah, you're using your marketing scumbag. So I would basically think about what is the quickest, easiest win they could achieve, and I would charge them for that, and I would make it something that they could actually take action on right now, and then basically they have that first win from what they've paid for, and now it becomes a no-brainer to go in and get all the other steps in the process. So just focusing on like the quickest, easiest win that they can apply, but making them pay for it, because they won't do it if they don't pay. And it's going to be, they're going to treat it more seriously, even if it's just $7 or 15, 19, whatever.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ian. It's something I've only really embraced recently, is the idea that having people invest is the best thing you can do for them. And you can come out and be frank about that, especially when you're like stepping up your offers. You go, if this was $50 a month, but the membership is, but if it gets into like private training or something, you go, you wouldn't do it. You might be happy that you have it, and you go, I'll get to it someday. But people got to pay attention. And if anybody ever questions you about why there's a fee and why don't you just give it away if it's so good and you care so much, you go, I know from experience you'll ignore it. It'll just be some other thing. You'll treat it like Wikipedia,
Yeah, we have a pretty simple template we follow for the close part of that $7 thing, which sort of basically follows the idea of, why am I charging for this? It's the cost of a drink at a bar, or lunch or whatever it is. It's not. I'm not charging because the $7 is going to make a difference to you or I. It's because I know that once you pay this, you're going to actually take action on this, and it's a disservice on my part to give this to you for free. When you may say, okay, well, I'm different, I'm special, I'll do it for free. You won't. That's human nature. So you can call that out, the objection, and be transparent about it before they get to that point. But the big thing there is focusing on, as far as the actual deliverable of that, is something that they can use easily, that'll create a win, because that's going to make a huge difference. And so, like, just for the email stuff, my one-time offer is just some templates. And so I know if somebody goes in, and I don't typically do templates, but if somebody goes in and fills one out and sends it to their list, they're going to make money, and they're going to go, oh, okay, this shit works. But it's the easiest thing. I could try and teach them something more complex to start and create more friction between them actually taking action. But that's the easiest thing to do. You go in, you fill in the blanks, takes you 5 minutes, and then you can make money, and then you have that association of making that money with whatever value I've given them.
Yeah, great stuff. Bruce made it kind of a joke, but I was actually thinking a similar thought when he made the comment about a joke photo of you falling off a roof or something. Yeah, look, you don't have to be a clown or someone you're not, but I really do think, just going back to the headline, or just of when I come to your home site and the first article, and I know it's an article, but still, hire an experienced roofing contractor's marketing expert. It's a lot of multi-syllabic words, but more importantly, it's not something anybody ever feels like doing. Nobody's been asked, what do you feel like doing, and said those words, right? Or what would be great to have right now. And so I would get in the habit, Scott, of like, if every time you title something anything, it has to be like, damn, I want that, or I better pay attention to this. I had my most recent email that seemed to resonate very well was, 3 things that must happen before anybody will ever buy from you, or something like that. And it's like, I at least have to look and scan this and find out what they are. Maybe I don't know one of them or something, right? And so, just to brainstorm for a second, like, what is that? If this was the title of the page or something, I'd like to see you come out and say, hey, I'm Scott Dennison. I'd like to be your marketing guide, your personal marketing tour guide into the world of, internet lead generation. I know it seems confusing, and I know you've probably been sold some real crap in the past that didn't work, but trust me, I know what I'm doing. I'm an expert working with roofers. I've got case studies of folks just like you who have had amazing success with this exact program. So let me just tell you right now the 6 things you need to know before you ever spend a dime marketing yourself on the internet. And boom, we go right into it, and you can just like skim over those 6 things. But now, what a different experience that is. You've stated who you are, your desire for them, why they should trust you. You've asked directly for their trust and their attention, and you've promised to give them something that you know they need, right? That's a 5-minute video that gives them a lot of reason to decide not to do it. Like, the instinct should be, yeah, let's take the next step. But if they don't do it, it's going to linger in them going, that Scott guy did seem like he knew what he's talking about. Every time the phone's not ringing and they wish it was, they're going to think of you, right? So, I'll quote again, another like little meme. The most valuable thing anybody can pay you first is attention. It isn't the $49. You got to win their attention, and you got to do something with it so that you haunt their dreams or their middle of the night, nightmares when sales is their problem. They need to be going, shit, man, I need to give Scott that $49 because he has the answers.
I like it. Yeah.
Right?
And you're saying that that's ideally done as a video.
I think so. I think so because video resonates. Look, if asking somebody to download something and read is a lot of friction points, man. Okay. And there's all kinds of people have different patterns, but if you pop up on a video and go, let's do this right now. Forget, look, I'll give you the report. It's PDF, and you can get to it later if that's better. But if you got 5 minutes, let's do it right now because I don't want you to wake up another day not having this information. It's that important.
Awesome.
Right? Okay. Who else? Angie, you've had lots of cool comments. Do you want to pop on, or are you satiating us in the comments?
I'm listening while I copy and paste things, which is super
I know you're
exciting.
busy, so I just didn't want to leave you out if you had more to add than you're already given us.
No, I think a lot of the commentary that's been added is fantastic. I mean, from what I see so far, you really, really know your stuff as far as the marketing is concerned. But where we're having a disconnect is how that connects to your actual roofers. So they may not necessarily know everything that you know about marketing, and it's your job to bridge that gap and walk them to where you are so that this is appealing. So if you kind of reframe all of this advice that you're getting in that context, that you need to build the bridge and show them that you both understand roofing, their problems, how they get their customers, all of the challenges that are encompassed with that, and how to get them more customers, then I think that you'll have a lot of success.
Yeah, thank you, Angie. And it made me think of something else. Ross and I were geeking over this great thing that Ramit did this week. He flew 3 of his best members into New York. They sat down and had cocktails. He created this great little drinking game, invited people to, tune in and watch the interview. The guy's just brilliant, right? It was such a cool engagement tool. But what struck me when I was listening to Angie right there was like, dude, because you're not a roofer, the greatest thing you could have is you sitting talking to a roofer as a case study. So whoever members, and I would do it in like Three Birds over here. I mean, it's going to be too loud, but someplace where it's not like a perfect little studio or an office, or I would be out in the field and make people go, okay, these look like people who understand what my world looks like.
So I can say real quick on that note, we just did that for our VSL for Body Boost. We just have an interview of Cindy and I sitting in a kitchen, and we break up the patterns as much as possible, but it's converting better than the water video now. And just having that, the way that my Derek Johansson put it, it's it's high production quality because we have good camera equipment and cameramen and stuff like that now, but it's like low production value. Like it's like sort of like an infomercial, but you're not being sold by these actors. You're just sort of in someone's kitchen and they're having a conversation. And I think anytime you can break up the medium, you know, basically take them from a normal type of video to just two people having a conversation, that breaks the pattern and it looks like you're just watching people talk. But even if you did it outside of a house, you know, like just having a conversation, pointing at roofs, I don't think that's a thing people do, but you know, whatever sort of just natural environment that is quiet enough, that interview format works really well. And I've found easiest way is just write down some questions. So basically you can either wing it or just write down, like what I did is I would just take what problems do you find most roofers face when they start out trying to get more clients? And that's what you ask him that. And so you take him as the roofing sort of side, and then you're the expert on the marketing part, but then you have the credibility of somebody who's done it, as opposed to just being solely marketing, you know, sort of why should they trust you? You have his credibility.
Awesome.
And then the other thing, when you're talking about sort of a 5-minute video, I have found that the 2 to 3 minute video range does seem to be, our brain, there's that little dopamine cycle where 2 or 3 minutes, you won't watch one 5-minute video, but you will end up watching 20 2-minute videos.
That's a good point.
So, like, it's just 2 more minutes. It's just 2 more minutes.
Yeah, right. Give me another hit. So if he was going to deliver those 6 things, first of all, do you recommend that, and then like break it up into multiple videos? Like literally, you could just stack them and go watch the next one, if you know, and then even if they only get 1 or 2 tips, then you're still made. You've got your.
It's just that mental thing, yeah, of just having that like 2.5 minute. Oh well, I can watch one more, right? And then it's Sunday afternoon. And you're like, how did I get here? It was Friday when I started watching these.
I missed the Super Bowl. Shit, who?
It's but also it helps in emails. I've been doing that lately with the call to action, just saying just watch, because everybody says watch this short presentation. And short presentation is a 25-minute VSL, so they've been pretty conditioned to, you know, think, oh, short presentation, bollocks, you know, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I've been watch this short 3-minute video, and we've been doing that basically with all these promos we've been running lately. I'll record, I think the longest one's about 3.5 minutes. So like I'll just walk into the warehouse and do something like that, but I basically say watch this 2-minute video, watch this 3-minute video. And it just makes, I think it's a big difference in the commitment level from someone.
Yeah.
5 minutes, I don't know, even I just think 5 minutes, I'm like, I probably won't do anything productive, but you think you could do something productive in 5 minutes, whereas...
It's so true. Well, it's just like we all do it. Like if somebody doesn't tell you the length or you can't see it, you know, even if you're liking the video, you're like looking for the length. Like, oh, what am I into here? Like, can I even afford to like this?
Yeah, length is important, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes it is.
If you're talking about hard hats and earphones.
Sometimes it's better to be short. You know, that's what I always say.
That's what she said.
We have not heard from April, and I really apologize for the segue, April. Is
wide open. Yeah, so I think I looked a little bit more at the emails, and there are a few things that I noticed. One of them is I really agree with what everyone's saying about putting more of you in there. From the very first email, my question was, well, who are you? I mean, I know your name, and I think you introduced yourself as a marketing expert, and I don't know that I would go that route because initially I think like, okay, he's just a guy trying to sell me something. Why roofing? Why do you care about this? And then in a later email, you say like, I'm not like those guys. I really do care. But it's almost like the fact that you bring that up makes me like start to realize like, oh wait, like yeah, people are gonna cheat me. How do I know you really care? And then later, I think it's like in email number 5, you do mention what your tie is to the industry. So I would put that way up at the top so that people know like why you care about roofers, why you're doing this. The other thing is social proof. You mentioned that you work with some personal or private clients for like $30,000. So I would put in the results that you've gotten for them because I didn't see any of that in the email. So there's nothing to tell me like, how do I know you're for real? How do I know you can really help me? The other thing it's also been said about the sales pages is speaking their language. Like there are a couple of phrases I wrote down, like you talk about SEO companies, about online domination. That doesn't strike me as something that a roofer would want. Like other people were saying, it's more about the phone ringing off the hook and those kinds of things. That's more their language. Let's see. Is there anything else I had? I think that's the extent of it.
You talked about, you just mentioned it, but getting that proof into the emails. Is that something you would have like a specific email devoted to that, or sprinkle them in almost every message?
I mean, I think you could do that either way. I think you could try putting in a few testimonials, like sprinkling those in. So when you say, you know, getting to the top rank of Google is going to do this for your company, and then maybe have a testimonial where somebody got those results. You could even have an email that's just devoted to one person. This person came to me, here's what his issues were, here's what we did, and see how they perform.
Yeah, good.
But I love the idea of like the picture of you like falling off a roof, and even like photoshopped horribly, it would still be hilarious. I think like adding more of that stuff in that really is going to get their attention would go a long way.
I agree. It's like if it you know, part of the like subtle message there is that if you're having a little fun with it, it doesn't. You know, it's an important subject, but it doesn't have to be so serious and like unenjoyable to practice, right? And again, you know, you can't be something you're not, Scott, but I would not be afraid to have some fun with it. And one other note I thought when April was talking is something else Ramit does so well. He had an email, I think it was today, where he's like talking about an exchange he had with a guy, where a guy reached out and was like, how do I surround myself with, you know, more people I can learn from and who are real doers? And he goes, you know, he gave the guy advice and said, so what are you going to do? And the guy named the things he was going to do, and he goes, awesome. You know, write me back on Monday and tell me what you did. And the guy, he never heard from the guy again. He's talking about, you know, it broke my heart. It's a shame. The guy's so freaking close, and he won't take that next step. Things like that, like write about the people, you know, avatars who aren't doing it. Because more of your list are going to see themselves as that than the people, you know, there's still going to be a disconnect to the people who either, you know, if they know they paid you a ton of money, or they're in some major mastermind, or, you know, it's like, well, that's a different category of people than me, and I'm disqualified, right? Help them identify with the resistance they feel in the patterns that they secretly know they display, and why they never take the actions that are going to get them where they at least claim they want to be. And make examples of that too. So cool. All right, guys, I'm conscious of time. This is we're at $1:15 here, and this has been another great hot seat. Ross has got something. What's up, bud?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I know we were looking at time, but just two notes here that I think could be just important. It does kick off what April is saying about proof. But, you know, I think it was mentioned in the thread, you know, why would I want to learn from you because you're not a roofer? I think that's to your benefit, because a lot of these contractors, they want to know just enough about marketing to know that they're not being taken to the cleaners by some guy who's making false claims. So one thing that you don't mention in the what you get portion is that you've already figured this out, and you have a system that works. You kind of hinted it, but you don't really get to it. And you know, when you talk to these guys, their hero is some other contractor in their business who's one level above them, right? And they measure their levels by how much revenue they're doing and how many trucks they have on the road, right? So what I would be doing is hinting that, look, like we already know and have the systems that work, and we were able to get people from this level to this level, and it's all in here. You just have to come in and join the membership. We have it already figured out. Just come on in, right? And you know, the other thing there is, one of the things that they're worried about is their competition, right? And what levels are do you have any mechanism in place that, oh yeah, Bobby Bingo from Montreal here as well, my competitor, is not going to come in and just be able to do the exact same thing as me. You know, I'm not sure if you want to limit yourself to kind of, you know, one person from whatever, but that's just something that they're very conscious of as well. So there's 2 points that I wanted to
Well, I actually don't have an answer for that one, Ross. I mean, I know when I take a private client, I give them an area exclusive.
Yeah.
But trying to limit the number of members per area, that's an interesting twist. I don't know exactly how.
No, yeah, that's the thing, right? Is it's not. It kind of just makes the whole point of scaling your business, pointless. But it's just something that I know they are considerate of. Is like like similar with Joe Polish, right? If you're selling a similar system, what's the situation where like am I going to be running the same ads, or am I going to be using the exact same stuff as my competitors? Like, has some guy already in my area used this? I'd imagine that is a concern for some of them. It mightn't be a huge concern, but that's just something from my experience that I know they're curious about.
Scott, I hasten to do this because it spins things off in a whole nother direction. But Ross brings up a really good point about, in the fact that you do this with your private members, about exclusivity. It reminds me of Dean Jackson's Project Cyrus model. Are you familiar with that model?
I'm not.
It was like a light went off in my head. It's like, look, if you find this membership model challenging and difficult to catch traction with, let's have that conversation, because I think Dean's model might be exactly what you need. In a nutshell, just to not create a total teaser open loop here, the model is you give them the thing they need, which is they need a website usually, and they need leads. And it's really basic stuff, but you build it for them for free. You train them on how to get leads with it, and then they see leads coming in, and they start paying you after, I think it's like, in his model, it's like 3 months, or maybe it's a month, like $99 a month. And the way Dean frames the training is he puts a price on it of, say, like $3,000, and he says, it's for real estate, and he says, pay me that out of the first commission you get from when you close the lead from the system. So he's building all this reciprocity, and it's Dean's whole philosophy on what would you do if you only got paid based on results. And so, I mean, if you actually have a model here where I think that's actually feasible. You could potentially provide these things to people and only get paid when they see them work. And it's a total backflip in how you've been thinking about this. But again, if you find it difficult, or you just find out, look, contractors just aren't going to go to a membership site. They're not interested. If any of that happens, I think that's another like very viable model. And Dean's an hour away, so that is definitely where I'd want to have that conversation about the possibilities of that.
Well, let me just finish then with Glenn looks at everything through the marketplace. What is the marketplace doing? What are the competitors doing? And he suggested that the real play for me was to present the full service offer in comparison to, or like try to sell the full service program and then have as a drop back or a fallback offer, well, you can do it yourself. They'll teach you how to do it.
That's actually what I was going to say. Is the last thing is, I didn't even know that you charged $30,000 for that. It was sort of, and I just glanced at the sales letter, but it was sort of buried in there until April had said it. That should be one of the headlines for sure. Is people pay $30,000 to work with me. You can get this training. Like, basically, you go with the idea. The problem is I'm only one man. I only have so much time, but I know this works for so many roofers. So I thought, how can I actually help as many people as possible without having to, work 80 hours a day, right? So, but really build the context of that $30,000. Just talk, like, I would do the math as much as possible. I always, with copy, and especially with stuff like this, like these roofers, what's a contract worth, right? You just make it a no-brainer. If you were to talk to a roofer and you say, all right, one contract's worth, I actually have no idea what, it's what, 10 grand?
Average in Texas is 13 grand. Average in Florida is about 8.
So say the average contract is worth $10,000. If this brings you in, if you paid $49 to get one extra client this month, is that something you'd be interested in? It gets very simple, right? And you say, look, the fact is people are willing to pay me $30,000 because they know I'm going to bring in at least 10 times that over the course of a year. Right, so it's easy for them, but I can't provide that for everyone. And you just build that context. What's an extra? Say it's one client a month. What's an extra $120,000 this year? Is that something you'd be interested in paying $49 a month for?
Yes.
Then you just break down the math and build the context of that value being as high as possible. Where $49 a month just sounds like nothing to be able to get that sort of access. But really breaking down what things are worth to them and doing the math very clearly for them. People don't do math on their own, so you've got to just lay out those numbers because people aren't thinking, oh, $49, they're thinking I've got to spend $49 a month. They're not thinking, oh, that's just like a fee to get an extra 10 grand.
Right. Yeah, great. Awesome. Wow, this is great stuff. Scott, I guess, you got another ream of notes there. I just want to give John one more shot. Anything left to say, John?
I think he's got enough there.
You got plenty, right? This is not hurt the man.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Scott.
Let me just say one last thing and a quick shout out to the guy. There's actually a new member of Copy Chief. His name is Scott Dudley in Australia, and he was the one that wrote all those emails. So I was trading messages with him this morning, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw you're going to be on there. I hope I don't get kicked out. I don't get my ass kicked too much." So he did all right. I mean, there's a lot of ways to improve on those emails, but I'm sure Scott will be watching the videos.
I think he represented, yes.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job, Scott Dudley. Yeah, man. Cool. And now, this is the power of a community. This is why we're called Copy Chief, because we're all sitting here chiefing Scott now, right? And he gets to go out and take glory when they're improved and converting and all that great stuff. So shout out to Scott. And yeah, it's a real ass pucker moment when anybody's gonna sit and review your copy. So take it. You didn't get tore up, and it's a great learning experience, priceless. So thanks to the panel, Scott. Thanks for doing this. Ross, my man, thank you, sir, for being here. John, as always, tremendous value. Ian, thank you, first timer, man. Appreciate your dedication, getting your audio to work. Super insight. April, great stuff as always. Thanks for being here. Angie, love having you. Thanks for your insights. And I will post up the replay and the transcript of the chat if Webinar Jam gives it to me like it should. And great stuff again. So thanks, everybody, for being Chiefs. Have a great weekend, and we will see you back soon.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.